The champagne flute shattered against marble with a sound like breaking promises. Vera didn't flinch as shards scattered across the floor of Seoul's most exclusive auction house, her hand steady despite the nausea rolling through her stomach in waves that had nothing to do with the scene unfolding before her. 50 million won, she called out, her voice cutting through the shocked murmurs. The art piece in question, a controversial modern installation by an up-and-coming artist, wasn't worth half that amount. But the man bidding against her, a portly politician with sweat beading on his upper lip, had just confirmed everything she needed to know about his dealings with the remnants of the Tiger organization. The recording device hidden in her bracelet had caught every word of his conversation with his associate before the auction started. Taehoon would be pleased. 6 months. 6 months since she'd helped dismantle the Crimson Tigers, since she'd proven herself as more than just Kang Tahun's accidental wife. 6 months since she'd stopped being Vera Park, the safe girl who colored inside the lines, and became Vera Kang, a woman who drew her own lines and dared anyone to cross them. The politician backed down from the bid, his face flushing an unfortunate shade of red. Vera smiled sweetly at him across the room, the kind of smile that promised she knew exactly what kind of man he was. He fled before the gavel even fell. Subtle as always. Jiwon murmured, appearing at her elbow with a glass of sparkling water. Not champagne, never champagne anymore, though Vera hadn't told her friend why. Taehoon's going to love the recording, but did you have to antagonize Park so obviously? If he's stupid enough to discuss bribes in a public venue, he deserves to be antagonized. Vera accepted the water gratefully, fighting another wave of nausea. Besides, now he knows we know. Fear makes people sloppy. Speaking of sloppy, you look terrible. When are you going to tell him? Vera's hand moved unconsciously to her still flat stomach before she caught herself. There's nothing to tell. You're 8 weeks pregnant, Vera. That's definitely something. Keep your voice down. Vera smiled at a passing collector, waiting until they were out of earshot. I'll tell him when the time is right. And when is that? When you're in labor? When I figure out how to tell the most dangerous man in Seoul that I'm carrying his child without him wrapping me in bubble wrap and locking me in the penthouse. Vera set down the water glass, her hand trembling slightly. You know how he is, Jiwon. The moment he finds out, everything changes. He'll want me out of the field, away from any possible danger, and I'm not ready for that yet. So you're just going to keep running around playing spy games while you're growing a human? That's insane even for you. I'm being careful. Careful was 3 months ago. Now you're just being reckless. Jiwon's expression softened. He deserves to know, Vera. And more than that, you deserve his support. You don't have to do this alone. Before Vera could respond, her phone buzzed with a message that made her blood run cold. It was from an unknown number, but the content was unmistakable. We need to talk. It's about your father. Meet me at the gallery tomorrow, 2 p.m. Come alone. Min-jae. The name hit her like a physical blow. Kim Min-jae, her ex-fiancé, the man she'd found in bed with her assistant, the reason she'd gotten drunk that night and stumbled into Taehoon's life. She hadn't heard from him since the breakup, hadn't wanted to. He belonged to a different life, a different Vera, one who thought safety and predictability equaled happiness. What is it? Jiwon asked, reading her expression. Vera showed her the message. Jiwon's face darkened immediately. It's a trap. Has to be. Your father's been dead for 15 years. I know that. But why would Min-jae contact me about him? Why now? Vera's mind raced through possibilities, none of them good. And how did he get this number? This is my secure line. Only people in Taehoon's organization have it, which means someone gave it to him, someone close. Jiwon pulled out her own phone. I'm telling Taehoon. He needs to know about this immediately. No. Vera caught her wrist. Not yet. Let me handle this my way. Your way is going to get you killed. My way has worked so far, hasn't it? Vera released Jiwon's wrist, her expression hardening. I need to know what Min-jae wants. What he knows about my father. If I bring Taehoon in now, he'll eliminate Min-jae before we get any answers. Maybe that's the smart play. Maybe. But I need to know the truth first. Vera looked at her friend, her sister in all the ways that mattered. Trust me on this. Please. Jiwon sighed, the sound carrying the weight of resignation. Fine. But I'm coming with you to that meeting, and we're telling Taehoon afterward. No arguments. Deal. But Vera had no intention of bringing Jiwon to the meeting. Some things she needed to face alone. The next afternoon, Vera stood in her gallery, the space she'd built with Taehoon's money and her own vision. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating art that ranged from traditional Korean landscapes to provocative modern installations. This place was hers in a way nothing else had ever been, not just a front for Taehoon's operations, though it served that purpose brilliantly, but a genuine expression of who she'd become. The door chimed. Vera turned, her hand instinctively moving to the small pistol hidden in her jacket. Taehoon had insisted she carry it everywhere. She'd resisted at first, clinging to some naive notion that she could exist in both worlds without becoming fully part of his. That resistance had died the night she'd walked into a warehouse to face Jin Dae-won. Kim Min-jae looked different, older, harder, with shadows under his eyes that spoke of sleepless nights and difficult choices. He'd always been handsome in a soft, conventional way. Now that softness was gone, replaced by something closer to desperation. Vera. His voice cracked slightly on her name. You look amazing. Save it. She kept her distance, kept her hand near the gun. You said this was about my father. Talk. Right. Straight to business. That's new. He laughed without humor. The old Vera would have offered me tea first, asked about my day, played the perfect hostess. The old Vera is dead. She died the day I found you screwing my assistant in our bed. Now talk or leave. He flinched. Good. Let him feel uncomfortable. Let him remember what he'd destroyed. Your father, Min-jae said finally. He's not dead. The words hung in the air between them, impossible and tempting. Vera's father had died when she was 7. A car accident, sudden and tragic. Her mother had raised her alone, working multiple jobs to keep them afloat. The life insurance had barely covered the funeral. My father died 15 years ago. That's what they wanted you to believe. But he's alive, Vera. Living in Prague, working for an organization called the Sokol Syndicate. They're the ones who sent me to contact you. Why would I believe anything you say? Because I have proof. Min-jae pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. A man in his 50s, European clothes, standing in front of what looked like a castle. The resemblance was undeniable. He had her eyes, her chin, the same slightly crooked smile she saw in her own mirror. Vera's world tilted. That could be anyone. Photoshop makes anything possible. It's real. And he wants to meet you. Min-jae pocketed the phone. But there's a price. Of course there is. There's always a price. Vera forced herself to breathe, to think past the emotional tsunami trying to drag her under. What do they want? Your gallery. They need it for international operations. Art is the different idea bride. Perfect vehicle for moving money across borders. You know that. Work with them for 6 months, facilitate their transactions, and they'll arrange a meeting with your father. Refuse. And they'll expose your husband's operations to Interpol. They have evidence, Vera. Enough to bring down his entire organization. There it was. The trap Jiwon had predicted, wrapped in the one bait Vera couldn't easily refuse. The chance to see her father again, to get answers about why he'd abandoned her, why he'd let her believe he was dead. I need time to think about this. You have 24 hours. After that, they move forward without you. And trust me, you don't want to be on the wrong side of these people. Min-jae moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. About everything. About cheating. About bringing this to your door. You deserved better than me. Yes, I did. Vera watched him leave, her mind already racing through possibilities. This was bigger than Min-jae. Bigger than old hurt feelings. This was a direct threat to everything she and Taehoon had built. She pulled out her phone to call Taehoon, then stopped. If she brought him in now, he'd go to war. People would die, including possibly Min-jae, who might be the only link to understanding this Sokol Syndicate. And if there was even a chance her father was alive, she needed to explore it before Taehoon burned that bridge. Vera made a decision she knew she'd probably regret. She'd handle this herself, at least initially, gather information, assess the threat, and then bring Taehoon in with a complete picture rather than fragments that would set off his protective instincts. She just needed to be smart about it. Careful. Strategic. The nausea hit again, stronger this time. Vera barely made it to the gallery bathroom before she was sick, her body reminding her that she wasn't just playing with her own life anymore. There was a tiny cluster of cells inside her that would become a person, her and Taehoon's child, a baby who deserved parents who were alive to raise them. Okay, she whispered to her reflection in the mirror. Okay, you can do this. You've faced worse. But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't true. She'd never faced anything this complicated, this dangerous, with this much at stake. Her phone rang. Taehoon. For a moment she considered not answering, but that would only make him suspicious. Hey, she said, forcing cheerfulness into her voice. Where are you? His voice was tight with tension. At the gallery. Why? What's wrong? We have a problem. I'm sending a car for you now. Be ready in 5 minutes. Taehoon, what's happening? Someone leaked our shipping schedules to the port authority. They're conducting raids as we speak. And Vera? His voice dropped lower, more dangerous. The leak came from someone with access to your gallery records. Someone close. Her blood ran cold. I'll be ready. Sokol Syndicate wasn't waiting 24 hours. They were already moving, already applying pressure. And somehow, they'd gotten access to information that should have been impossible to reach. The black sedan arrived exactly 5 minutes later. Vera climbed in, unsurprised to find Jiwon in the driver's seat instead of their usual driver. Talk, Jiwon said without preamble. What did Min-jae want? How did you know about that? Please. You think I'd actually let you meet your ex alone without surveillance? I had 3 people watching that gallery. So talk. What's going on? Vera told her everything. The claims about her father, the Sokol Syndicate, the ultimatum, the leaked shipping schedules. Jiwon listened in silence, her expression growing darker with each revelation. This is bad, Jiwon said finally. Worse than the Crimson Tigers because these people are international. They have resources, connections, sophistication that local gangs can't match. Father as leverage, which means they've done their research. They know exactly how to manipulate you. I know, but what if it's true? What if my father is alive? Then he's been alive for 15 years and never contacted you. That tells you everything you need to know about what kind of man he is. Jiwon navigated through Seoul's traffic with aggressive precision, but that's not the immediate problem. The immediate problem is that Taehoon is about to find out you met with Min-jae, and when he does, all hell is going to break loose. I was going to tell him. When? After you had the baby? Vera, you can't keep secrets from him. Not about this. Your partners, remember? That means trust goes both ways. I trust him. I just wanted to handle this myself first. That's not trust. That's control dressed up in good intentions. Jiwon pulled up to Taehoon's headquarters, a gleaming tower of glass and steel that housed both legitimate businesses and less legitimate operations. Come on. Time to face the music. Taehoon was waiting in his office, surrounded by monitors showing security feeds and shipping manifests. He looked up as Vera entered, and the relief that flashed across his face was immediately replaced by something harder. Are you all right? He asked. I'm fine. What happened with the raids? We contained it. Lost some product, but nothing catastrophic. The real question is how they got the information. He stood, moving around the desk with that predatory grace that still made her pulse quicken. The leak was traced to an email sent from your gallery's network. Someone accessed our shared files and forwarded them to an unknown recipient. I need you to tell me who had access to your systems yesterday. Vera's mouth went dry. Taehoon, I need to tell you something. That you met with Kim Min-jae this afternoon? His voice was deadly calm. I know. I've had surveillance on you since his message came through. I saw everything. The betrayal in his eyes, cut deeper than any physical wound could have. You had me followed? You're my wife. Of course I have people watching you, especially when your ex-fiancé suddenly appears asking about your supposedly dead father. What I don't understand is why you didn't tell me immediately, because I knew you'd react exactly like this. Possessive, controlling, ready to eliminate the threat before getting any answers. Vera felt her temper rising to meet his. I wanted to handle it myself, gather information before bringing you in. That's not how this works. We're partners, Vera. You don't get to make unilateral decisions when those decisions affect our entire organization. He was angry now, the careful control slipping. Do you have any idea what could have happened? What they could have done to you? I can take care of myself. I've proven that. Not against an international syndicate. Not when they're using your father as bait and your ex as their messenger. These people are professionals, Vera. They kill people like us for sport. People like us? I'm not some helpless civilian anymore, Taehoon. I've earned my place in your world. Or did the last 6 months mean nothing? The last 6 months taught me that I can't lose you. That you're the only good thing in my life, and if something happened to you because I wasn't there to protect you, I'd burn this entire city to the ground. His hands gripped her shoulders, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to convey his desperation. So yes, I'm possessive. Yes, I'm controlling. Because the alternative is watching you die, and I can't. I won't survive that. The raw emotion in his voice stopped her anger cold. This wasn't about control. This was about fear. Taehoon, the ghost of Gangnam, Seoul's most dangerous man, was terrified of losing her. I'm sorry, she said quietly. You're right, I should have told you immediately. But Taehoon, if there's a chance my father is alive, I need to know, I need to understand. Why he left, why he let me believe he was dead. Then we'll find out together, not with you walking into traps alone. He pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers. Promise me, no more secrets, no more solo operations. We do this together or not at all. I promise. But there's something else you need to know. Something I should have told you weeks ago. What? The words stuck in her throat. This wasn't how she'd wanted to tell him, in the middle of a crisis, with enemies circling. But Jiwon was right. No more secrets. I'm pregnant. About 8 weeks. I found out a month ago and I didn't tell you because I was scared of how you'd react. Scared you'd make me stop working. Stop being useful. And I can't give up the person I've become just because we're having a baby. Silence. Taehoon stared at her like she'd spoken in a language he didn't understand. Then his knees actually buckled. Vera caught him, barely, as he sank into his desk chair. There's a baby? His voice was barely a whisper. Yes. And you didn't tell me for a month? I was going to. I just needed the right time. The right time? He laughed, a sound edging toward hysteria. Vera, I've spent the last hour imagining every horrible thing that could happen to you. And now you're telling me you're carrying my child while running around meeting with dangerous people and playing spy games? I've been careful. Careful? You were just sick in your gallery bathroom 20 minutes ago. Our surveillance caught that too. You can barely keep water down and you're telling me you've been careful? He stood abruptly, pacing like a caged animal. This changes everything. Everything, Vera. You can't be in the field anymore. You can't take risks. See? This is exactly why I didn't tell you. I knew you'd react like this. Like what? Like a man who just found out his wife is pregnant and has been hiding it while putting herself in danger? Yeah. I'm reacting like that because it's insane. I'm not made of glass. The pregnancy doesn't change who I am or what I'm capable of. It changes what I'm willing to risk. His voice echoed off the glass walls. Don't you understand? You're not just my wife anymore. You're the mother of my child. That baby makes you a target in ways you can't even imagine. Every enemy I have will see you as the ultimate leverage. Then we deal with it together, but you don't get to sideline me. That's not what we agreed to. Our agreement didn't include you being pregnant. The door opened. Jiwon stepped in, her expression suggesting she'd heard every word. Sorry to interrupt this touching moment, but we have a bigger problem. The Sokol Syndicate just made their move. She pulled up footage on Taehoon's monitors. It showed the gallery, Vera's beautiful gallery, with police swarming the entrance. Not just any police, Interpol, their distinctive jackets visible even on the grainy security feed. They're executing a raid warrant, Jiwon said. Anonymous tip about international money laundering. They have forensic accountants going through every transaction from the last year. Vera, if they find the actual evidence of our operations, they'll have enough to arrest both of us. Vera finished. This is the pressure. This is them showing what they can do if we don't cooperate. Taehoon's phone rang. He answered, listened, then his face went even harder. Understood. Secure the perimeter and wait for my orders. He hung up, looking at Vera. That was my contact in the police department. The raid was ordered based on evidence provided by someone claiming to be a former employee of the gallery, someone who had intimate knowledge of our operations. Min-jae, Vera said. He must have planted something when he visited yesterday. Probably a bug or a data skimmer, which means everything we discussed in the gallery after he left is compromised. Jiwon pulled up more feeds. They know about the shipping, schedules, the port raids, probably our entire network structure. This is catastrophic. No, Vera said, her mind racing. This is an opportunity. Both Taehoon and Jiwon stared at her. Think about it, Vera continued. They're showing their hand, proving they have the capability to hurt us. But they haven't actually done permanent damage yet. The raid will turn up nothing if we've been careful with our record keeping. The shipping losses are manageable. This is all theater, designed to scare us into compliance. And your point? Taehoon asked. My point is that they need my gallery specifically. Otherwise, they'd just destroy it and move on. They need the legitimate cover, the international art connections, the network I've built, which means we have leverage. Vera felt the old thrill of strategy clicking into place. We give them what they want, but on our terms. Let them think they've won. Absolutely not, Taehoon said. I'm not using you as bait for an international crime syndicate. Especially not now. You're not using me. I'm volunteering. This is the smart play, Taehoon. We control the game instead of reacting to their moves. The smart play is eliminating Min-jae and everyone connected to this Sokol organization before they can hurt you. That's the emotional smart play. We need to be smarter. Vera moved to the monitors, studying the raid footage. Let me meet with them. Let me agree to their terms. We set up a controlled environment where we can gather intelligence about their operations, identify their leadership, and figure out what they're really after. Then, when we have enough information, we dismantle them completely. While you're pregnant? While every instinct I have is screaming at me to lock you in the penthouse until this baby is born? Taehoon's voice was strained. Vera, I can't watch you walk into danger right now. Then don't watch. Trust. She took his hands, forcing him to look at her. Trust that I know what I'm doing. Trust that I'll be careful. Trust that we're stronger together than apart. Jiwon cleared her throat. As much as I hate to say it, she has a point. A frontal assault on an international syndicate we know nothing about is suicide. But if Vera can get inside, gather intelligence, we might actually have a shot at taking them down permanently. And if something goes wrong? Taehoon asked quietly. Then you burn them to the ground, Vera said. But nothing's going to go wrong, because I'm going to have the two best operatives in Seoul watching my back. Right, Jiwon? Damn right. If we're doing this insane thing, we're doing it properly. Full surveillance, panic buttons, armed backup within 30 seconds at all times. Jiwon looked at Taehoon. But she's right about the strategy. This is the smart play, even if it makes us all want to vomit from stress. Taehoon was silent for a long moment, his jaw working as he fought his protective instincts against his tactical mind. Finally, he sighed. Fine. But we do this my way. Full security detail, no exceptions. You wear a tracker at all times. And the moment, the absolute moment, anything feels wrong, you abort. Understood? Understood. And after this is done, after we've dealt with the Sokol Syndicate, we're having a serious conversation about your role going forward. Because Vera, I love you. I love your strength and your courage and your brilliant mind. But I can't lose you. I won't survive it. She kissed him, soft and slow. You won't lose me. I promise. We're going to get through this together, all three of us. His hand moved to her stomach, spreading across the place where their child grew. All three of us, he repeated. Then his expression hardened, the ghost of Gangnam emerging. Jiwon, set up a meeting with Min-jae. Tell him Vera agrees to the terms but wants to negotiate the timeline. I want eyes on everyone at that meeting, and start pulling every piece of information we have on the Sokol Syndicate. If we're going to war with these people, I want to know everything about them. Already on it, Jiwon said, pulling out her phone. Vera leaned against Taehoon's desk, exhaustion suddenly crashing over her. The pregnancy hormones weren't helping, turning her emotions into a roller coaster she couldn't quite control. Are we crazy? She asked. Doing this now? Completely insane, Taehoon agreed. But that's never stopped us before. The meeting with the Sokol Syndicate was set for 3 days later. Enough time to prepare, but not enough for them to wonder why Vera had agreed so quickly. It would take place at a neutral location, a high-end restaurant that catered to Seoul's elite, with enough witnesses to prevent outright violence but private enough for serious negotiation. Those 3 days were a blur of preparation. Jiwon drilled Vera on surveillance techniques, code words, escape routes. Taehoon arranged backup at every exit, snipers on nearby roofs, enough firepower to Start a small war if necessary. And Vera studied everything they could find about the Sokol Syndicate, memorizing faces and names and connections. What she found was chilling. The Sokol Syndicate was old, established, with roots in Eastern European organized crime that stretched back decades. They specialized in art theft and forgery, using legitimate galleries as fronts for moving stolen masterpieces across international borders. They were sophisticated, well-connected, and absolutely ruthless. And according to their intelligence, they were expanding into Asia, looking to establish operations in Seoul, Hong Kong, and Tokyo. Vera's gallery was the perfect entry point, established and respected with connections to collectors worldwide. They probably targeted you specifically, Jiwon said, reviewing the files in Taehoon's office, researched your background, discovered your father's connection to their organization, and manufactured this entire scenario to manipulate you into CFA cooperation. My father, Vera said quietly. Do you think he's really alive? I think they wouldn't use him as leverage unless there was some truth to it. But Vera, even if he is alive, the man who abandoned you 15 years ago isn't going to be the father you remember. People don't disappear into organized crime and come out unchanged. I know, but I need to see him. I need to understand why. Sometimes there is no why. Sometimes people just make selfish choices and dress them up as necessity. Jiwon squeezed her shoulder. But if he is alive and part of this, we'll find him. And then you can decide if he deserves forgiveness or a bullet. The night before the meeting, Vera couldn't sleep. She stood at the penthouse windows, looking out over Seoul's glittering skyline, one hand resting on her stomach where their child grew. Can't sleep? Taehoon's voice came from behind her. Too much on my mind. He wrapped his arms around her, pulling her back against his chest. We can still call this off. Say the word and we find another way. No, this is the right move. I can feel it. Your instincts or the pregnancy hormones? She laughed despite herself. Probably both. Are you scared? Terrified. But not of the Sokol Syndicate. His hand covered hers on her stomach. I'm scared of being a father. Of bringing a child into this world, into this life. What kind of father can I be when I've spent my entire adult life being a monster? You're not a monster. I've killed people, Vera. Ordered deaths, destroyed lives. What do I tell our child when they ask what I do? How do I explain the blood on my hands? She turned in his arms to face him. You tell them the truth. That you did what you had to do to survive in a world that doesn't forgive weakness. That you built something from nothing and protected it with everything you had. And that when you met their mother, you learned there was more to life than just survival. She kissed him softly. You tell them that love changed you, that they changed you, and that every day, you're trying to be better than you were yesterday. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple. It's terrifying and complicated, and we're probably going to screw it up 100 different ways. But we'll figure it out together, just like we've figured out everything else. He held her close, breathing in the scent of her hair. I love you. Even when you're being reckless and giving me heart attacks. I love you too. Even when you're being overprotective and bossy. I'm not bossy. You're absolutely bossy. But I wouldn't have you any other way. They stood together in the darkness, holding on to each other like anchors in a storm. Tomorrow would bring danger, confrontation, and truths that might shatter everything Vera believed about her past. But tonight, they had this. Love and warmth and the promise of a future they'd fight like hell to protect. The restaurant was called Moonlight, tucked away in Gangnam with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River. It was the kind of place where deals worth millions were made over courses that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Vera had been here before, hosting collectors and artists, never imagining she'd return to negotiate with international criminals. She arrived exactly on time, wearing a simple black dress that hid the slight curve of her stomach and the weapons Taehoon had insisted she carry. Jiwon was positioned at the bar, playing the role of a businesswoman enjoying an after-work drink. 3 more of Taehoon's people were scattered throughout the restaurant, invisible unless you knew what to look for. And Taehoon himself was in a van 2 blocks away, monitoring every word through the wire Vera wore, his finger probably hovering over the trigger command that would send his entire team storming in. Min Jae was already seated at the reserved table, looking nervous. But he wasn't alone. A woman sat beside him, late, 50s with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen everything twice. She stood as Vera approached, extending a hand. Mrs. Kang, she said in accented English, thank you for meeting with us. I am Katerina Novak, representative of the Sokol Syndicate. Please sit. Vera shook her hand, noting the strength in the grip. This was a woman who'd clawed her way to power and held it through force of will. Miss Novak, I assume you're here to discuss the terms of our arrangement? Direct. I appreciate that. Min-jae said you'd changed, but I didn't expect this much steel. Katerina smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Yes, let's discuss terms. Your gallery, your connections, your expertise, all placed at our disposal for 6 months. In exchange, we arrange a meeting with your father, and we keep certain information about your husband's operations away from international authorities. And if I refuse, then we destroy you both. The gallery closes under the weight of investigation. Your husband faces charges in 3 countries, and you never learn the truth about Victor Park. Katerina sipped her wine. But you're not going to refuse. You're too smart for that. You've already calculated the risks and decided this is your best option. You're confident. I'm informed. I know everything about you, Vera. The good girl who colored inside the lines until she didn't. The art curator who married Seoul's most dangerous gangster in a fit of drunken rebellion. The woman who discovered she had a taste for danger and decided to embrace it. Katerina leaned forward. I know you want answers about your father more than you want anything else. That need for truth, for closure, it's a weakness we can exploit. Everyone has weaknesses, Vera replied coolly. What's yours? Ambition. I want Seoul. I want the art markets, the collectors, the connections your husband has spent years building. And you're going to give them to me. On one condition. I meet my father first. Before I do anything for you, I want proof he's alive, and I want answers. You arrange that, and we'll discuss the rest. Katerina studied her for a long moment. You negotiate well. Fine. I can have him here in 3 days. He's eager to see you, you know. Talks about his little girl who loved finger painting and fairy tales. The words hit like a physical blow. Those were real memories. Specific details only her father would know. Which meant this wasn't just an elaborate con. Victor Park was really alive. 3 days, Vera agreed. Same place, same time. And Miss Novak? If this is a trick, if you're playing games with me about my father, my husband will do things to you that will make you beg for death. Just so we're clear. Crystal clear, Mrs. Kang. I look forward to our partnership. Katerina stood, signaling to Min-jae. We'll be in touch. After they left, Vera sat alone at the table, her hands shaking with delayed reaction. Jiwon materialized beside her. That was either brilliant or insane. Can't it be both? Vera tried for humor, but her voice cracked. He's alive, Jiwon. My father is really alive. We don't know that for sure. They could be lying. Those details, the finger painting and fairy tales, only he would know those. He's alive, and he's been alive this whole time, letting me think he was dead. The anger came suddenly, hot and fierce. He let me grow up thinking I'd lost him. Let my mother struggle and suffer and work herself to exhaustion. And for what? To be a criminal in Prague? We'll get answers. In 3 days, you'll have your chance to ask him everything. Jiwon helped her stand. Come on. Taehoon's probably having a stroke in the surveillance van. Let's go tell him you survived. But as they left the restaurant, Vera noticed something. A figure watching from across the street, too deliberately casual to be coincidence. She memorized the face, filed it away for later analysis. The game was bigger than she'd thought. More players, more layers, more danger. And she was walking right into the center of it, carrying Taehoon's child, and chasing ghosts from a past she'd thought was dead and buried. 3 days until she faced her father. 3 days to prepare for truths that would probably destroy her. 3 days until everything changed again. In the van, Taehoon listened to the recording of Vera's meeting 3 times. His jaw clenched so tight it ached. She did well, Jiwon said. Stayed calm, negotiated effectively, didn't give anything away. She also agreed to meet her father, who may or may not be the man she remembers. Who's definitely been working for an international crime syndicate for 15 years. Taehoon replayed the moment Katerina mentioned the finger painting, watching Vera's micro-expressions on the screen. This is going to break her heart. Maybe. Or maybe she's stronger than you think. I know she's strong. That's not the question. The question is whether her strength is enough to survive what's coming. He closed the laptop, suddenly exhausted. Run a full background check on Katerina Novak and Victor Park. I want to know everything. Every crime, every connection, every secret. If they're planning to hurt Vera, I want to see it coming. Already on it. But Taehoon? Jiwon's expression was serious. You need to prepare yourself for the possibility that this doesn't end well. That Vera gets the answers she wants, and they destroy her. That her father is everything she hoped he wouldn't be. Then I'll be there to pick up the pieces. That's what husbands do, right? They stay when everything falls apart. That's what good husbands do. And despite being a criminal, you're apparently a decent husband. High praise from you. Don't let it go to your head. But as Jiwon left to begin her research, Taehoon sat alone in the dark van, listening to the sound of Vera's breathing through the wire she still wore. His wife, his partner, the mother of his child, walking into danger because she needed truth more than she needed safety. He'd kill anyone who hurt her, burn the world down if necessary. But he couldn't protect her from the truth about her father. That pain, she'd have to face alone. All he could do was be there when she needed him, and hope it was enough. If you want to find out what happens when Vera finally comes face to face with the father who abandoned her, when the Sokol Syndicate's real plans are revealed, and when Taehoon has to choose between protecting his wife and giving her the freedom to make her own dangerous choices, make sure you're subscribed, because this story is about to get even more complicated, even more dangerous, and trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. Hit that like button if you're invested in Vera and Taehoon's story, and drop a comment telling me what you think Victor Park's real agenda is. Is he a victim or a villain? Let me know your theories below.